Hello, 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 and welcome to the Cloud English Podcast. My name is Luke. It's great to have you. Today is July 26th, 2019. And we're going to be talking about quite a few things today, including how you can improve your pronunciation by learning how babies learn pronunciation. We're going to be talking about specific accents and how you can identify elements of your accent and decide whether you want to keep them or change them, but to have power over those. We're going to be talking about some specific other pronunciation-related things too. I have a question that I'm going to be doing now every week that I get a lot of questions. I'm going to be picking one that I think is interesting, and well, we'll see. We are also live, so if we get any interesting questions relevant to the topic or not, and then I may be answering those as well. It has been a while. I kind of wanted to hit reset on the format a little bit, just do a little more research, and you know how it goes. We take breaks. I once heard somebody say these sorts of things are marathons, not races, right? So, well, it's great to have you, and thanks for being here. Those watching live, questions are welcome, and those not, well, like button, subscribe, follow, you know what to do. Let's see. Another little experiment we're doing is a bit of a book club. What I've decided to do is basically read. We're going to start with short stories and then discuss those short stories with a small group of people. I don't know if that will be flexible and open in the long run, but right now it's with a very small group of friends. But I would encourage you, as we do those, to read along, read the story, analyze it, think about it, and then watch the conversation. So I'll be doing the story and the conversation separately. That's the plan. Otherwise, I'm working on a couple of courses. One course will be about English verb tenses, a very short and focused course on all the verb tenses. And one course is going to be focused on how to master and practice and get ready for English exams using ChatGPT, TOEFL, IELTS, all of those. So that's exciting, I think. And that's really it in terms of updates around the podcast. Is there anything else in general? And the courses, of course. Well, my son had his first birthday a couple days ago, so he is now one. He is one. And people say time flies. I don't think so. I think what I've decided is time does not fly unless you are in a kind of routine where everything is the same. This is what I've noticed. I have this sort of side project to slow time down because I think time is more our perception of time, right? And what time actually is, I don't really care about, but the perception of time. And one thing that I think really changes the perception of time is how you're spending that time. If you're in the same loop, cycles, habits, routines, then I find that it just goes by very quickly. But if you're constantly doing a new thing, it seems like time slows down. A simple example would be when you drive to a place for the first time, it seems like it takes much longer to get there. I wonder if other people share this feeling. It seems like it takes much longer to get there than the 30th time. Once you go there many times, the feeling of time passing is much slower the first time, and I think it's because you're more aware, you're attuned, you're trying to figure out where to go. There's more lights on or something. And if you're doing it for the 30th, 50th, 80th time, it's a routine, and the lights are off. you're asleep a little bit. So I always try to think about, what kind of things can I do to stretch out the perception of time, right? I want to feel like, as I get older, 40, 50, 60, I want to think, wow, this has been it really feels like 60 years. I hear people say all the time, whoa, that really flew by, wow. That thought terrifies me, scares me. I don't feel that way. Right now I'm 35 years old, and I feel 35. When I think about everything that I've experienced and been through and done and seen in the 35 years, I think, whew, that's a lot. I'm definitely 35. And I want to expand that, right? Because I've never had this feeling of time. Oh, well, that time really flew by to the same degree as others. I think. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it happens. You get in a routine and things sort of go quickly, but in general. Anyway, that's a pointless tangent, unrelated to anything that this episode is going to be about. So let's get into it. As I mentioned, like, comment, subscribe, very helpful, much appreciated. Those listening can watch on YouTube and Facebook. Those watching on YouTube or Facebook can listen in the links in the description. All of the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, whatever you like. So, pick your poison. And then in the links in the description, you'll find a free course, and you will also find the link to the free community on Discord that you can join, and also a discount, 30% discount on the monthly membership for the first 12 months. You get 30% off. That's I think a pretty great deal. More courses were recently added to that, so you're getting access to all of those courses. Check that out in the links in the description. As well, we have some people joining. Fantastic. Vitaly is here. Long time no see. Karina Lugo. Heyo. Long time no see. Shibin Mohammed. Hello. Are you giving any training? I guess. I recently became a dad too. My son is almost 2 months old. Wow. Congratulations. That's fantastic, Vitaly. I would love to hear more about your experience. I remember when my son Pi was 2 months old. It's really, less sleep, but other than that, a 2-month-old kind of just laying there most of the time. And so the interaction is limited. But once my son got up to, 6 months and beyond, all of the lights started coming on, and now he's just running around. He's 1 year old exactly, 1 year and 2 days. He can run at a full speed on his own. He's starting to talk. It's amazing to see. He's pointing at stuff. He's yelling. He's playing with cars. He's a person. It's pretty mind-blowing that people can make other people. That blows my mind. I will never get used to it. And also, it's pretty mind-blowing to look back to the time only a year ago when I didn't have a child at all. This is my first child. And think about how it feels kind of empty compared to this. If people tell you, oh, kids, they'll ruin your life, they'll make you so busy, it's so much of a pain, you're better off being single. All right, if you want to be, everyone has their own thing. Make your choices. I don't care. I will say for myself, yes, you do lose some of that maybe freedom, independence, and convenience. But what you get for that is depth and meaning and significance and the kind of this deeper joy that all of that other stuff can't really provide. I personally love being a parent. Yeah, things are a little harder, but harder is not necessarily worse, right? And just you get to experience this person and become you basically just made a new friend if you do it right. And yeah, I love it. It's amazing. Amazing. Where am I living? So I'm in the Hudson Valley of New York State. I lived for 6 years or something, approximately, I don't know, in New York City. And then I moved up to the Hudson Valley, which is about, an hour and 20 minutes north of the city by car or train. And I'm enjoying it. It's very quiet. I live in a very peaceful and quiet place, and it's a nice place to raise a son. And the only thing I miss about the city is food. Not that the food around here is bad, but it's just that anywhere outside of the city, or maybe a big city that's very diverse, is going to be a step down. When I lived in the city, I was 10 minutes away from, the best, not American Chinese food, but real Chinese food, Flushing in Queens, that you can possibly imagine. And, it's Queens, where I lived, is the most ethnically diverse, as far as I know, the most ethnically diverse place on the planet Earth. I think that's true. I read that. I can't confirm it, but it feels like that, all right? Everything that you can possibly imagine. Today I want to eat Ethiopian food. All right, let's go to the Ethiopian restaurant. I don't have an Ethiopian restaurant near me now. I wish I did. I love Ethiopian food, different cuisine. Mexican cuisine is not just Mexican food. It's what kind of Mexican food, right? There's so many choices, and Colombian and, Asian cuisine, Thai food. Amazing. Anyway, I do miss that a little bit. Fewer options. But other than that, I do prefer living where I live. Shabin said, I wish I had your accent. I will die for getting such a stylish accent? Well, I don't know about that. Thank you, but I appreciate that. I don't know if stylish is the word. Fair enough. Karina says, it's an amazing moment when they are learning to speak. Enjoy every day because they grow up so fast. I'm tempted to just show you something. I can't not show you. It's on the channel, so you may have already seen it. But here, let me show you something. I'm just gonna bring up the short here, just because it's when I take videos of my son, I watch them more than anybody else. I probably watch them 150 times. So yeah, let me show you. Let me show you. Here we go. All right. Let me turn the volume up a little bit. I promised myself I'm never gonna become. I see parents talking about their kids. My son is the best, and my daughter is this and that, and here's a picture. Look at this picture. And I always said I hate when people do that, talk about their kids. It's so annoying. I'm never going to become like that. And now I'm the most like that. I'm more like that than anyone I've ever met. I can't help it. If you're just interested in following along, I didn't post on Instagram for a long time, but then now I am. I just basically post pictures of my son on Instagram. So you're welcome to follow me on Instagram if you want to follow along. It's Luke.Pretty on Instagram. That is my Instagram. I don't really post English stuff at all. It's just me and my family. Okay, so let's listen. Let's check it out. Can you point to the cat? There's the cat right there. Can you point to the cat, Pi? Where's the cat? Yeah, very good. There's the cat. Where's the light? Where's the light? Yeah, there's the light over there. Yeah. Wait, where's Mama? Where's Mama?
Mama.
Yeah.
Mama.
He's starting to talk a bit. And he's starting to make sounds. It's called baby talk. It's before they actually start talking. And it's all based on reinforcement. So that's how babies learn. They kind of make sounds. And it gets closer and closer as you respond to them. And eventually it just sounds like words. That's how babies learn language. Right, Pi? Right? Yeah. All right, that's it. Cute. I think he's cute. You can see when I said, "Where's Mama?" He suddenly became very serious. Oh, where is she? I need to know. It's so funny. Vitaly says, "I'm really happy because I can sleep at night. My wife can handle everything at night herself, but I'm trying to help as much as I can during the day." Yeah, I think everyone has their own arrangement, right? The way we did it, because, little babies, they don't have enough fat reserves generally, and so they need to eat every 2 to 3 hours. So usually what we would do is both get up together, pick him up, do the burping. I would usually do the burping, and she would feed him, and it would kind of go like that. Now he's very regular. He wakes up at the same time pretty much every day. So, okay, well, enough of this stuff. Let's get into the today's episode and topic. It's great to be back, certainly, and so let's get into it. We're gonna start, well, by talking about babies, but specifically about pronunciation. I think it's really interesting that people want to learn pronunciation with phonetic symbols and by reading things. Now, there is a place for those symbols because they can help remind you of what something is like, right? But if you really, really want to learn natural pronunciation, we should look at what babies do. And you were once a baby, I assume, right? And figure out if there's anything we can do when we're learning pronunciation for another language, right, that's similar to how babies do it. Why? Because that's how we all learn our first language. I want to understand how babies pick up new sounds, and then I want to see, even though we're not babies, if we can do it kind of like that. All right? So how do babies learn? Well, I'm going to really simplify things. There's a lot of research about this that you can read about. There's a very rich understanding of how babies learn. But usually when they're born, they can hear all sounds. Sounds are called, these sounds that are the pieces of languages are called phonemes. Okay, it's like a little chunk. And some languages have a lot, some have not that many. English, I believe, has 44. So there's some sounds that you don't hear in English because there are, I think, 800 or something around there phonemes, and not every language uses all of them, okay? So babies start out with this ability to hear everything. And then over their first, really, year, they start to tune in to, their brains are working in parallel, side by side with their environment. They start to tune in to the phonemes, the sounds that make up their language. How does that happen? Well, there are people around them speaking, and the people around them speaking are saying things in a particular language, usually. In the case of my son, 2 languages, Chinese and English. And that's okay because babies can learn multiple languages at the same time. They can learn 2, they can learn 3. I don't know what the upper limit is. And they can separate them. So the baby's brain starts to develop this, okay, those are the English sounds and those are the Chinese sounds into 2 separate buckets. Right now, to my son, if you say, "Where's the light?" He points at the light. And what if you say, "Dung, dung, where's the dung?" He'll point at the light, right? So he knows. He knows the Chinese and the English word, naturally. Now that's understanding the meaning, but what about the pronunciation part? So they hear these words over time. They hear the words in context, right? Not by themselves, but in sentences, right? And their brains, which are very flexible and plastic and bendy because they're baby brains, right, are starting to tune into this language or these languages, the meaning and the sounds. And eventually what they start to do, I think this happens around 6 months. Don't quote me on that. I think that's about right. They start babbling. They just start making these random noises. Now, I'm not recommending that you do that. But the babbling gets closer and closer to words in the, let's call it, the target language, English, let's say. How does it get closer and closer? Well, they get better and better at hearing the sounds, but they're also getting feedback. So they're using their ears to pick up these sounds, and they start kind of playing with them, jumble them together, mix them around, blah, 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 blah. And over time, there's this gradual process through hearing and trying and feedback. Hearing, trying, feedback. Hearing, trying, feedback. Where they get closer and closer to the word mama or dada or cat or whatever, right? Their first words, let's say. So it's a very natural process, and it rests on that foundation. Listen, try, feedback. Listen, try, feedback. Now, this is where we can learn and put this into practice a little bit. But before we do that, I want to show you a video because I think it's the absolute most perfect example of how babies do this, right? So let's take a look here. There's this video which I love, this very cute baby trying to say the word strawberry. She wants a strawberry. So let's listen.
Strawberry.
A what?
Strawberry.
A what?
Strawberry. Strawberry.
A strawberry?
Yes.
A strawberry?
Yes.
Okay. What do you want?
Okay, so what's happening there? The baby's saying dub dub baby, baby. It's not quite right, right? So this little baby is getting closer to the correct sound of the word strawberry. Having heard the word strawberry many times in various situations and contexts, right? Listen again. Listen again. It's kind of getting there, but not quite right.
Strawberry.
A what?
Strawberry.
A what?
Strawberry. Strawberry.
A strawberry?
Yes.
A strawberry?
And then that's a very...
Yes.
Look at that little face. Finally, I'm trying to make these sounds. It's not quite working, but then my mom can guess what I'm trying to say and say it correctly. Strawberry? Yes, that's the feedback loop. So many examples of strawberry, many examples in many situations, then trying to say it based on what she wants, right? And then parent or someone, caregiver, saying, you mean this or that? Or repeating the word correctly, right? Not mama, but mama. 2 times, right? That's something that my son has just finally figured out. He was always going, mama, 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 mama. And then we kept saying, yes, mama, 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 just 2 times. Mama, mama, mama. And eventually he got there with mama. So again, why are we talking about babies, and how does this relate to your pronunciation? I think it's very relevant. We should try, even though our brains may not be quite as flexible and bendy as a baby's, right? We don't have that plasticity that babies have. I think we should really make an effort to follow the same basic process. Well, what does that mean? Well, first you have to have that sound environment. The way that English learners tend to learn pronunciation is to be reading things all the time. You read a bunch of things, so your reading is good. There's no reason for your reading to be better than your listening, first of all. I can't believe that. It's because you don't have an equal environment. You've read maybe in school much more than you've heard. So you need to increase your environment of available English sounds, let's say. You need more. Once you have that immersion, you start to pick out things. Then you need a way to say those. Maybe you do that practicing in ChatGPT, or even better, you have a way to speak English at work, volunteering, something, right? You have a way to practice speaking. So that's the second part, is trying stuff, right? The next part is the feedback. Now, for an adult, we have a couple of ways to get feedback. You could use an app. You could take a lesson with a teacher. You could have a language partner. You could have friends give you feedback. But I personally think that the best way that adults can get feedback on pronunciation is to have really, really precise listening skills. And if you really develop your ears, I think the ear is the most important thing that you can develop. If you can develop your listening skills and you can differentiate the different sounds that you hear, that's v, not woo. That's not right. If you can hear those things, not only do you get better at dialing in to what you hear so that you can try to say that clearly, you also get better at hearing any differences between what you say and the target sound, right? So if I'm trying to say the word usually, I keep hearing it, usually, if my listening is not good, then I just say what I think it sounds like, urally, and it's maybe wrong. But if I tune my listening, then I can maybe hear it more accurately, and when I say it, urally, I can start to notice, but I'm saying you're, not usually. What's that? This is what's that sound? I've got to get that. You start to hear it, and then you now have, you don't have to have an app, you don't have to have a teacher, you don't have to have anything other than your ear. You have this built-in machine for free that can tell you something's not quite right and can allow you to tune, just like the baby saying strawberry, except the mom saying strawberry is not a mom, but is instead the ear that you have developed, okay? So we can learn how babies do it, but we have to make some changes to how we do it as, let's say, adults, right? Because our brains are not as plastic, but we have the advantage of being able to say, I'm going to develop my listening, right? To make a goal that you can work toward. And when you do that, then you start to build this free machine that can always give you feedback and help you improve your pronunciation over time, okay? So and by the way, when you do that, then suddenly you have a superpower. You can learn anything, any sound, any pronunciation. You know, if a parrot can do it, parrots can learn how to make sounds, right? You can do it. If a bird can do it, you can do it, right? Right? You're smarter than a bird, right? Okay. So that's it. Again, I think it's important to have your own process, but let's learn from what babies do. If you have any questions, let me know. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. and get a free course in the links in the description. Alrighty. That video is very cute. I can't handle it. Da baby. Shabin says, "Wow, your kid is so cute, Luke. I love kids beyond any limit. My heart breaks to see them cry." I feel a little differently if they're crying because, I don't know, some cute reason, right? They're crying because, I don't know, they dropped their strawberry on the ground or something. That's kind of a cute. They're crying, but it's kind of cute in a way. But yes, if babies are crying because they're sad or because something bad has actually happened, and I do feel sad as well. My son will be learning 3 languages at the same time: Swedish, because we live in Sweden; Russian, because we speak Russian at home; and English, because it's the international language. And there's no reason that won't work. The challenge will not be whether your son can do that. Your son can do that. The challenge will be making sure that environment is there. I think... let me give you a great resource, Vitaly. I've discovered a fantastic YouTube channel that I think is really good for a lot of these basic things. I let my son watch it about 30 minutes a day, just for that native sound. The YouTube channel is called Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel. And they're great. She's great. And she also teaches sign language. So I'm learning sign language. I know that this means more. This is mama, dada, together, milk. I'm learning things. Is faking required to get a native English accent? Yeah, no. So this is a good question from Shabin. Is faking required to get a native English accent? Here's what I think. If your goal is something like, I will sound exactly like an American or a native British English speaker, I don't know. Is that the right goal? In my opinion, the best goal would be just to be clear and make sure you can be well understood, but not to completely try to eliminate your accent. I would hate for someone with a, nice Spanish accent to just get rid of it completely, that would be sad. So I would say, I don't want to tell you what your goals are. I would say when it comes to pronunciation, the things to improve would be the things that prevent you from being understood sometimes. There is a kind of international sound in a British English speaker and American English speaker. They have different accents, but, the goal is to be understood, right? And I think for anyone whose native language is anything, there's a way to get to this kind of place where everything I say is clear and well understood. And once you get to that place where everything you say is clear and well understood, I think you win. I mean, that's I think, a great goal to strive for. If there's anything that causes you problems in your life with your pronunciation at work, you say things and people say, "Huh? What? Can you say that again?" Well, now you need to make some improvements because people aren't understanding you. But is your goal to, "Hey, everybody, I'm an American. My name's whatever." I mean, who wants to sound like that? Certainly not me. So yeah, think carefully about your pronunciation goals, I would say, and don't just say, "Oh, it's definitely just to sound like an American." I don't want to sound like an American. It's just, I wish I was, I wish I didn't have an American accent sometimes, because I find American English, as it's spoken by, let's say, a lot of people, really annoying. I try to be clear and articulate simply because I want to avoid sounding annoying, because I think the American vocal fry, and I'm like literally like that thing, whatever that is. I hate it so much. It's so annoying to me, and I want to avoid sounding like that. But hey, we have to say that's pretty normal American English. So, just think about what your goals are, is what I would say. Hey, Alyssa Marie's Totally Blind is here. Fantastic. Welcome. Long time no see. Tom Holland can simulate North American accent for his role. Can you mimic a British accent? Not very well. Let's see. People mostly just do Harry Potter. I can't do it well, right? Like Harry Potter. Alyssa Marie's Totally Blind. That's my best one. Vitali instead of Vitali. I don't know. My British accent is weak. Is very weak. I'm a little better at the Australian English accent, and I can do my Chinese English accent is very good. Very, very good. The reason for that is I lived in China for a long time, and my wife is Chinese, and everyone I know, a lot of my friends are Chinese, so I'm good at imitating Chinese English. The only fries I love is French fries. Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Okay, all right. Well, there is a question I wanted to answer, around pronunciation, but I will be taking, any questions. Have you ever been to India, Luke? Yes, I have been to India. I went to Mumbai, New Delhi, and Rishikesh in 2010, perhaps. Maybe 2010, maybe. And it was great. I stayed there for quite a long time, and I also did one of the Vipassana meditation retreats in New Delhi. That was the first time that I had ever learned Vipassana. I did a 10-day silent retreat, and that was an amazing experience. Someday I really would like to get back to India very, very much. Please teach me English in Hindi. I'm sorry, I can't. I don't know Hindi, unfortunately. And also, I mean, wouldn't it be weird if a native English speaker were teaching English in Hindi? Also, isn't English technically the national language in India? My understanding is that's the official language. Hindi is please correct me if I'm wrong. Hindi is the common language that most people can speak. Then most people have a regional mother tongue or two, depending on where they live, and then English is the official language of India, even though it's not spoken as much as Hindi. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. Any thoughts on correcting someone's grammar mistakes? There's no national language of India, says Anurag. Okay. I stand corrected. I feel ashamed. I feel I would like to take this moment to say that I'm sorry, and I was wrong. I said things that were untrue based on what I heard, and I perpetuated untruths, and I will learn from this, and I will grow, and I will become a better person. Alyssa Marie's Blind says, thoughts on correcting someone's grammar mistakes. Well, I think at this point, ChatGPT... Oh, Vitali says, according to Wikipedia, English is the official language of India. Ah, it looks like I'm not the one who needs to apologize. Oh, good. That's good to know. Interesting. And Jitumanai says official language is English. Okay. But I think not the most, it's weird because it's maybe official, but not the most spoken, right? Okay. My question is, what percentage of people in India speak English, speak any English? No, let me ask a different question. What percentage of people in India don't speak any English? That's my question. Is it 10%, 5%, 50%? It's got to be, my guess would be maybe 20% speak zero. That'd be my guess. While I'm guessing. Okay. So I think, Alyssa Marie, the answer is, fortunately or unfortunately, I think the answer is, if you're not using ChatGPT or Claude or Google Gemini or Meta AI, if you're not using these for grammar correction, then I think you're probably missing a big tool. I think it's the best way to get feedback on grammar, to better understand grammar. I have a full course on improving your English with ChatGPT, with prompts on how to not only learn grammar, but get corrections and feedback on grammar. You can check that out. That's on Udemy. But yeah, I think at this point, that's just the absolute best way to do it. Okay. Shibin says around 10 to 15% don't speak English. Yeah, that's my intuitive guess there as well. Yeah, so, if you... I don't want to go through the prompts, but if you haven't used ChatGPT much, I strongly recommend it. The cool thing about ChatGPT now is that you can use the best model currently available for free. So if you go into ChatGPT, yeah, this is my account. I have a paid account. I use ChatGPT all the time, so it makes sense. But if you have an account at all, you can use GPT 4o. So this one's really fast and also free, 4o mini, and it's also quite good. And then there's GPT 4o, which stands for 4Omni. And this is a really good model. You can have on the app or the Mac desktop app, you can have a live conversation basically with ChatGPT, and you can provide it specific instructions to say, as I'm speaking, I want you to pause and give me corrections and feedback on my grammar. ChatGPT 4o, if you prompt it correctly, will be able to give you that feedback. I've covered it a little bit in some videos, but the course has in-depth explanations on how exactly, which exact prompts to use for grammar. So, yeah. By the way, it's good to hear you live again, and it's great to have you back as well, Alyssa. Fantastic. Fantastic to have you back. Good to see you. For Indian language speakers, what to do for better pronunciation? So that's actually, let's get into that next, because I do have some specific things, and I want to approach it in the right way. I just want to make sure that, it's building on what we talked about earlier with the babies, but I think it's worth getting into. So let's dive into that, and we will do a specific example for Indian English too. Okay. If you're not a native English speaker, you may have what you can call an accent, a certain way of speaking. Now, I personally think that accents are very cool, and they make languages more interesting, right? When I hear different English accents, I love it. I don't want to tell anybody how they should sound. However, sometimes your accent could get in the way of being understood. And so there are times when you may want to improve your pronunciation right? So that you can sound more clear, so that people aren't saying, sorry, what? I didn't understand what you said. Or, yeah, kind of hard to understand. You have a very heavy accent or thick accent. It's often described that way. Well, what can you do about that? As I often say, it often comes down to your ears. So the first thing you have to do is you have to hone, improve, tune your ability to listen and hear sounds, the sounds that you hear from others and the sounds that you hear coming out of your own mouth, right? If you walk down the stairs and you hear your knee crack, how come you can hear your knee, but you can't hear what's coming out of your own mouth? It's just your body making sounds, right? You should be able to hear everything and hear the differences between what you say and what others say. However, I want to go through a couple of examples for specific accents to give you my thoughts on it and maybe get you started thinking about it yourself. And I want to be very clear. What I'm going to talk about is not to say, if you do this, you should change. I don't care. Do whatever you want. You should have your own goals, right? I'm here to help you improve your accent if that's what you want to do, and if your accent is getting in the way of you being well understood by others. For example, at work. Especially at work. We need to be understood, right, at work. So let's go over to the board, and we're going to start with Spanish. Spanish, the language, okay? There are some common things that you will hear native Spanish speakers say when speaking English. Specific sounds, and sometimes these sounds can get in the way of understanding. Let's go through a couple of examples. Very often, when we hear a Spanish accent, the thing that makes it a Spanish accent is flipping B and V. B is flipped with V. And so, for example, video might be video, or it might sound like video. Now, again, does that cause misunderstandings? Well, sometimes it can, right? Sometimes if, for example, there's a word that starts with a V and another word that starts with a B, but otherwise they're the same, and you say the one with the V, but you meant the one with the B, well, that can cause issues, right? Again, simple example of a V and B sound would be video, video. Okay? And this is something just to be aware of and start listening to. Another one that's really common for the Spanish accent would be the E sound in front of words that start usually with ST or SP, right? So for example, a stadium, right? Now, that's an interesting one. So for example, let's say stadium. If there's a stadium, I had to say a stadium. But it sounds like when I say a stadium with the in front of the st sound, that I've said an a. An sounds like the letter A. So it can cause some confusion there, right? This is a very common feature. Not everybody has it. Again, up to you to decide if let's say, if the sounds that you make are getting in the way of being well understood. Okay, so this is just to get you thinking about, okay, well, what are the sounds that are inside of my accent? What are the things that make it like that, right? You can think about this for example, British English and American English. What are the things that make British English sound like British English and American English sound like American English? Well, British English people might not say the letter R clearly, like but only if it's at the end of a word or often in the middle of a word. Perfect example would be cartoon. But Americans tend to always pronounce the R sound, whether it's at the beginning, middle, or end. So if you have a word like cartoon, Americans will say cartoon, but a British person might say cartoon, 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 or I don't know. They might say it. Some people might say with the R, some not, right? And also, for example, I have a short video about this with Ronnie Chang, who says cartoon. He's, I think, Singaporean, right? They follow kind of the British pronunciation format. Well, again, we're just noticing little things there. Okay, that's a thing that makes it a bit different. All right, well, what about, I don't want to say Hindi, even though I know that's the most spoken language in India, because I think it's not that simple. And so let's just call it what people usually call it, which is the Indian English. People usually just call it Indian English. Now, obviously, Indian is not a language, but that's what people usually call it. They kind of lump together everything, no matter what the language is. There are, thousands of languages in India. But okay, people call it the Indian accent or Indian English. What are the things that make it sound like that? What are the things that make up the Indian accent? Well, there are quite a few. What I would challenge you to do is go to an interview with Indian people speaking and listen and see what you can notice, right? There's a really clear one for me, though, and that is the way that the D is pronounced. So D, I'm just going to write the letter D, and I'll say position. The D position, and that's the D position of the tongue. So what, for example, Americans would say, right, would be something like Monday, 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 Monday. Now, where my tongue is located is on this hard part on the roof of my mouth, right behind my teeth, and my tongue is kind of flat. Monday, 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 Monday. So it's kind of a lighter D sound. Monday, 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 day, da, 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 da. But when you hear that Indian accent, usually what happens is the tongue is simply farther back in the mouth. If you feel in your mouth, there's this ridge, and it goes, and it goes kind of in, and it gets a little softer. The tongue tends to be there. And so you might hear something like Monday, da, da, da. So da, 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 da. It's the same sound. It's just moved a little bit farther back in the mouth, right? Da, 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 da. You hear the difference? That's just a tongue position thing. That's all it is, right? Now, I know if that's something that you wanted to change, muscle memory. So you can't just decide to change it. You have to work on it and hear it and give yourself constant feedback. Again, if you want to change that, as I said, I don't really care. Well, I care if people want to change it. That's my job. But, I like all accents. Accents are a big passion of mine. I like to hear them. If I could push a button and make every accent in the world go away and make everyone speak like me, I would not push that button. I would throw that button into a river. I would smash it and then throw it into a river. So that's one example, right? And often you hear also D instead of T. Oops, that's an of. D instead of T, right? So instead of t, 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 you hear d, 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 t, 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 d, d, d. Not in every case, right? Of course, but there's often a flip of D and T where the t, t actually sounds like d, 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 but it sounds more like the lighter d, d, d sound rather than the d, 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 deeper d sound, right? If that makes sense. And sometimes also there's a roll or a D instead of an R sound. So a kind of a dr sound that it's called a trill, and sometimes there's that too. Again, I'm just trying to get you thinking about this stuff. We're not doing this too in depth. I just want to I want to get the wheels turning and get you thinking, what are the things that make me sound the way that I sound, right? I can think that same thing as an American English speaker. Why is it that Americans sound like this when they speak? Well, maybe it's the way that they open their mouths, and maybe it's how the air comes out of their noses. You know, all different ways. Let's do one more, again, just for fun here. How about Chinese? So there are two main branches of spoken Chinese. One is Mandarin and one is Cantonese. But we'll group it under, let's just call it Chinese for now. We'll group it. And for writing, of course, there's traditional and simplified, but for spoken Chinese, the big branches are Mandarin, which tends to be spoken, well, everywhere, but especially in the north, and then Cantonese, which is in the south, for example, in Shenzhen, right, and Guangdong province, and in Hong Kong. So let's just focus on some big things. A really, really common one is S and TH. One of the most common things that Chinese speakers deal with is a difficult time with the TH sound, using S instead of TH, but in all cases, both voiced and unvoiced. I'll give you an example. So you have a word like this, which is, I would say, tends to be the nightmare of every Chinese English speaker, almost every. This is a nightmare for most Chinese English speakers. This word right here. I've taught a lot of Chinese English students, so I have quite a bit of experience with this one personally. And then let's say a word like this. Okay, so let's talk about these. Now this S sound is what we call unvoiced, and that's because when we say it, it goes S. And this sound, I'll write a Z over here, is called a voiced sound. A voiced sound, which would be you use your voice. Zzz. So actually, the only difference between S and Z really is one is voiced and one is unvoiced. S, z, s, z, s, z. Tongue is not moving. The only thing that's changing is you're turning your voice on or off. S, z, s, z, s, right? Now, the TH sound also has voiced and unvoiced. TH has a special sound, which is T, like Thomas, for example. Thomas. Thomas. But it has also this voiced and unvoiced sound, which is the most common. These two are the most common. Now, in this case, it's unvoiced, and in this case, it's voiced. So this word would be pronounced something. The voice is not carried through, and this is pronounced with the voice, this. But what tends to happen is that this, for Chinese English speakers, becomes an unvoiced S, and this becomes a voiced Z sound. So it's like this, something. I want to say something. I want to do something. Something. Right? And if that sounds like Chinese English to you, that's because it is. And this often becomes Z, so it'll become this, something, this, something, this. Right? Again, if you say, hi, wait a minute, that sounded like you were speaking a Chinese English accent. Thank you very much, because I have a lot of experience using the Chinese English pronunciation. So I can do that. So those sounds are just changes in the mouth. That's all it is. So what I'm hoping is, I'm not trying to teach you, hey, this is how you do this. This is how you can have a Chinese accent. I'm not trying to do that. This is not supposed to be comprehensive, right? If I touched on your native language, you're probably thinking, well, that's just one thing. What about the others? That's not the point here. The point that I really want to get you to think about and take away is that all of this is just stuff that's happening in your mouth right? And once you know that, then you can start to, if you develop your listening, you can start to listen to those things. How do you identify? Well, you listen to differences. You hear maybe native spoken English and you say the same thing with your natural way of speaking, and you listen to the differences. And then you ask yourself, well, what's happening in my mouth that makes that sound? I've given you only a few examples to get you started thinking about it, but that's it, right? Now, the other part of this is that, okay, so for number one, you've got to develop your listening skills. That's the foundation of all of this. If you can't hear the differences, then you're lost. Number two is then you have to start to identify what happens in the mouth, right? And what you can reduce and change to get to where you want to be. And then number three is that you can't just know that. The problem is that people think that learning pronunciation is like learning how tall Mount Everest is. Once I know it, it's a fact. No, it's more like learning to play tennis, right? It's more like learning to walk on a tightrope. It's a skill that requires building deep habits, and you have to learn that over time. And so there, you have to build muscle memory. And so you have to constantly be listening as you're speaking and say, oh, I heard myself say this, or I heard myself say whatever I want to change, and constantly try to self-correct. And over time, you'll just be able to do it naturally, right? It just takes time and takes discipline. And you can record yourself and listen back to help you identify some of those things, right? So that's it. Improve your listening. First, work on that. Identify the sounds that you want to change or improve. Identify the things in your mouth that are making those sounds or that you need to do in order to make a sound. And then work on the muscle memory that you need to make it a habit so that you're not thinking about it as you're speaking. Because if you have to think about it when you're speaking, it'll never work, I promise. All right, that's it. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and also get a free course in the links in the description. All right. Chat is my bestie. Okay, so that's it. That's it. Hopefully that helps. And hopefully that kind of answers your question, Jitamani. I hope that helps. I think it's really interesting. Personally, I think it's really interesting to explore what are the things that make the sounds, right? What do you want? Especially for things that I don't know, right? Like the click sounds in some African languages, like the osa, or I think that's how it says, sort of a that sound, the click sound. That's nowhere in my language background, or that's such a cool sound. And some languages have what are called glottal sounds that happen far back in the mouth and throat that sound like it's not really in English at all. It's really interesting. Anyway, I think so. My opinion. Just my opinion. Okay, let's see. We have some other things to get to, but I need some water. I need some water first. If that's okay. Another great tool, by the way, for learning really anything, it's an AI tool, is Perplexity. So let's try this. Perplexity is cool because it provides sources. So it's like if you take Google and ChatGPT and smash them together. And it can give you an explanation rather than something simple. Okay, so for example, explain the subjunctive mood. Explain the subjunctive mood. I'm going to do a pro search. Usually it's a little bit more in-depth, okay? So I want to understand this. So some sources here. The subjunctive mood is a grammatical mood used to express hypothetical situations, wishes, demands, get the app, no thank you, suggestions, or statements that are contrary to fact. It is one of three primary moods in English alongside the indicative and imperative moods. Types of subjunctive mood. Present subjunctive. The present subjunctive mood is used to refer to actions or situations in the present or future that are hypothetical or desired. Okay, and let's see if we can get an example. Examples. I suggest that he be on time, and be is highlighted telling me that something is different here, right? It is important that she attend the meeting, okay? So it is typically formed using the base form of the verb regardless of the subject. This means that subject-verb agreement does not apply. So subject-verb agreement is, for example, if you have a word he followed by a verb, then the word after it needs to agree with the word he, right? So what would be the agreement of the word of be with he? He is, right? He is, right? You have to change the verb to agree, usually. Well, in the subjunctive mood, you don't. So that's why we say, I suggest that he be. So if you think, why? He be. What does he be? Well, no. He be, because it's a special mood. The base form of the verb is be. It doesn't change no matter what the subject is. So instead of he go or he goes, which is what it would be, is he go. I suggest that he go on time. Same. It is important that she attend. Again, she, if you agree with she, subject-verb agreement would be what? She attends, right? Attends. Well, in the subjunctive mood, you don't change it. Attend is the base form of the verb. It's important that she attend. What am I doing with that, right? Well, I think it's stated pretty clearly. It's used to refer to actions or situations in the present or future that are hypothetical or desired. So, okay, that makes sense. Past subjunctive, used to describe hypothetical situations, often referring to the present or future. The most notable feature is the use of were instead of was. So no matter what, we're going to use were instead of was. If I were you, I would apologize. I wish it were sunny today. It's hypothetical. Is it sunny? Probably not. But I wish it were, right? So it's just a really interesting tool to get these sort of more in-depth answers on things, in-depth explanations. And the other useful thing is that it comes with sources, right? So you can check out the sources and the things behind it, so you know it's not making it up. Because right now, ChatGPT, for example, can provide some really good explanations and information. It would probably give a very similar answer to this. However, sometimes it's a question mark. How do I know? Because I know that ChatGPT can just make stuff up and hallucinate nonsense sometimes. So I'm sure that ChatGPT will improve that. In fact, they're working, I believe, on a browser called a search engine called SearchGPT. So we'll see. But right now, and that might destroy Perplexity. Perplexity is a good place to get information. I have found myself using Perplexity much more than Google recently, personally. It's a really interesting tool, a really great tool. And I like that it has sources. I like how it organizes information. For example, this table here, indicative, imperative, and subjunctive, giving me examples of the different types of moods. It is pretty cool in my opinion. But check it out and let me know what you think. He will be on time. That's a good question. So Lutine says, why not he will be on time? Well, because that would be stating something that's true about the future. I suggest that he be on time is referencing the future, but it's referencing what I think should happen, ideally, and it's not what's going to happen, right? If I say I I suggest that, well, he will be there tomorrow. That's just me saying the future. I'm basically just saying, here's the timeline and this is the thing that's going to or will happen. It's not that, right? All I'm doing is making a suggestion, a recommendation, stating what is ideal. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what he is going to do. I have no idea. I'm just saying what I think should happen, what is ideal in my opinion. Saying nothing about the real future. I'm only talking about the hypothetical future, if that makes sense. Okay. Is intonation also as important as pronunciation? I think so. I mean, intonation is, yeah, if someone talks like this without intonation all the time, how long do you think you could hear how long do you think you could bear to listen to what they are saying before you decided to tune out and do something else? It is very abrasive to listen to someone speak with the same intonation all the time. When they do it, it sounds very flat. It's very hard to really grab what they're saying because there's no intonation to label what's important and what's not. You can't hear the beginnings and the ends of sentences. You're unable to hear where pauses are and commas are. You can't really catch the... So how terrible was that, right? That was probably pretty hard to listen to. Well, that is no intonation. But when people are speaking, they have stress. So some words go, more stress, louder basically on certain things. And we stress syllables in words like something instead of something. Well, why is it something instead of something? Well, there is a reason that I could explain, but that's stress. And then intonation is the rising and falling of the voice. So, for example, the voice falls at the end of a sentence, for example. I really want to go home, right? I need a vacation. It goes, And that it tells you, oh, that's the end of a sentence. It's a little verbal marker in intonation, right? We use intonation for questions, and sometimes it's absolutely necessary. For example, if I ask a question without using question words, if I say, are you ready? 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 Because are you is there, you know it's a question. The words tell you. But often people don't say that. They'll just say, ready? Ready? And the only way that you know it's a question is that they said, And so that's the intonation of the word ready that tells you it's a question, the rising tone. Because if I say ready, ready. If it goes that goes down. That tells you I am ready. So here's an interaction between two people that is totally correct. Ready? Ready. Ready? Ready. Ready? Ready. Are you ready? Yes, I am ready, is what that means. And we get it only through the intonation. Yeah. I can't pronounce R properly. I do have a whole video about that. I would recommend checking out on the channel. It's not as simple as, just doing it. But yeah, I would recommend checking out that full video. But pronouncing the R is really a matter of tongue placement, right? So it's the tongue. The tongue has to be back and up and back. The tongue is flat like this. Now what happens? I'll try to mirror what my tongue is doing with my hand. Ready? So the end of that was too much, right? This, if it goes way back, too much. That's way too much. It's very uncomfortable. But if it's like this, okay, that sounds very good. That sounds very nice. So it's how much the tongue is curled, basically. And if you curl your tongue, your mouth will make the R sound. You have to curl it in the right way. Check out that video. It's kind of long, but it does cover basically how to do it with lots of examples. Okay, I do have another thing I want to get to. That's called dead air. Dead air. Dead air. We're going to cover one more topic. When you say ready, I say ready. Like with the D, I can't say rary. Sounds weird when I say it. It's hard to get it in text when you text it like that. It's hard to, I'm not quite sure what you mean, but I'd love to help. But let's see. When you say ready, I say ready. Like with the D, can't say re. Sounds weird. I'm not quite following that one. Sorry. But I would like to help. Maybe you can explain it in a slightly different way, and I would be happy to help. Help! I've got a question from a student. I'm going to answer that. I've got a question from a student that I'm going to answer. How long have we been going for? Okay, we've been going. We'll cover another topic here. One second. All right, so we're going to be talking about diphthongs. Yes, diphthongs. Which are very interesting. And we're going to start with sound. Let's go over to the board here. Yeah, okay. Let's pop up the question. I got a question from a student. Question is, I have a question about the OU sound with S as in sound. How do I make it? Well, it's a little more complicated. I want to talk about the OU sound more generally. I will also explain how to say that word very carefully. I will explain how to do it. But I want to explore this thing, which is called a diphthong. A diphthong. Weird word, strange word. You don't need to remember it if you don't want to. It's called a diphthong. And a diphthong is a sound that we make where the mouth changes as we make the sound. So, for example, actually the letter A, pronounced in the long sound, is a diphthong because we say A. A. Notice my mouth is not static when I'm saying it. A. I. Okay, A and I are diphthongs because the mouth is changing as I say it. Now, the short sounds are not. Nothing's changing with my mouth shape, as you can see when I say Nothing's changing, right? Static, fixed. But also we have other sounds that are diphthongs, not just the vowels. And OU is an example. Common ones would be, for example, OU, OW, AW, for example, right? OI would be an example. OI, for example, OI, or OY. And actually, OU and OW can make the same sound. So sometimes these are the same, but sometimes not. Sometimes OI and OY are the same, right? But we have to explore this kind of a little bit more in depth, and we're going to be focusing on specifically. Well, the question is about OU, so let's do that, and let's start with the diphthong sound, which is ow, which is ow, which is ow, ow. 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 Now, as I said, two things generally make this, OU and OW, but not every single time. So let's write down a couple of words here. S-O-U-N-D, S-O-U-T-H, S-O-U-R, and then we're also going to write down B-R-O-W-N, N-O-W, and I'll write this one up here, D-O-W-N-T-O-W-N. Okay. Now I'm itching my nose, not picking it. Just for the record, this is a scratch. This is a scratch, not a pick. All right? Let it be known. Okay, so all of the sounds here are pretty much the same. It's going to be ow. Now notice, spelled differently. Sometimes O-U, sometimes O-W. Okay, so how do we make this diphthong? This is starting with the ah, 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 and ending with the woo, woo, woo. So it goes from ah to oo, but it has to go smoothly. So let's start with both pieces. First, follow me. Ah, 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 ah. Now the second piece. Ooh. Notice my lips are stretched forward. Ooh. Close together. Ooh. But there's air passing between. Ooh. Ooh. Now we put them together. Ow. Ow. Say it 2 more times. Follow along with me. We'll do it right after I do it, okay? First listen and then try. Ow. Ow. Okay? Now notice that it's smooth. It's not au. Au. No. Right? It's a very smooth transition between those two sounds. You have a starting point, ah, and an ending point, oo. And you have to make it smooth in between. All right. So that's how you make the OU sound. Now, if we want to say that word, how do we do it? Well, this is an unvoiced S sound, s, not z. And this is the N sound, regular n. So what we need to do is put that thing we just learned in between them. That's all we have to do. Let's forget about D for a second, and we'll just say s, ow, s, ow, So try those 3 pieces. After me. S, ow, s, ow, Okay? Now, make that smooth so that it's one continuous thing. Sound. Notice the N sound at the end. I'm saying na 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 na. The N sound. Sound. It's continuous. I'm not breaking my voice between ow and n. Sound. Now all you have to do is add the D. Sound. Sound. Now let's say it faster. Sound. 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 Notice what my mouth is doing. S, ow, and. I'm doing it all. I'm just saying it faster. That takes muscle memory and practice. Okay? So again, we go to the next one, which is the same ow. We have the same s sound, but now we're adding the th at the end. But it's kind of the same idea. S, ow, s, ow, south, south. South. And we do the same thing with S-O-U-R. S-ow-er. S-ow-er. Sour. Sour. Hear that? Sour. Now, it's the same idea with O-W. Nothing different, really. Now, O-W doesn't always make ow, to be clear. Not always. But in these words, it does. So, for example, we're doing it twice here. That's kind of, I guess that's maybe the hard part here. We're doing it 2 times in a row. D. Ow. D. Ow. T. Ow. T. Ow. Down. 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 Town. 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 Downtown. 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 Downtown, 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 downtown. Practice. Same thing here. B. Ow. B. Ow. Brown. Repeat after me that. Brown. Brown. Now faster. Brown. 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 Same thing here. N. Ow. N. Ow. N. Ow. Now. 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 Now, 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 now. Okay? So that's that's how you say it. That's how you say it. That's it. That's simple. Easy, right? Super duper easy. Well, there is another thing that I should mention, is that these sounds don't always make, or these letter combinations don't always make these sounds. So it's not that every time you see OU and OW, they will make this sound. For example, BOW. Well, one pronunciation of BOW is ow, bow, as in make a bow, right? To bow to someone. But another one, probably more common, is bow, like a bow and arrow, right? Bow, or a bow tie, bow. So that's just more like a BO, right? So in this case, it doesn't make that sound at all. So often words have 2 pronunciations. And another example would be SOW. All right, I believe female pig is a sow. Ow, ow. Well, that's our sound, right? But to make clothes, you need to sew. Sew. And that's more like SO. So, just be aware that, yes, that is how it is pronounced, but that doesn't mean that every time you see those letters, it will be pronounced in exactly the same way. And let's look at a couple of examples of words with OU, which is more common, that don't make the ow sound at all. For example, SOUTHERN and SOUVENIR. Well, this is just the short U sound, and this is the O sound. So this is the OO sound, excuse me. The oo, the long OO sound. So this is southern, just the short U sound. Spelled like southern, but it's not pronounced southern. It's pronounced southern, southern. And this is not souvenir, it's souvenir, souvenir, souvenir. Okay, very interesting. And there are a lot of other words. Just a couple of examples of some other words. Group and Cousin, Soul, and Nervous. Okay, you get the idea. This is the OO sound. Group. Ooh, like goop, right? GOOP. GROUP is pronounced the same with an R. Group, goop, group, goop, group, group, goop. And this one is the short U sound. It's not cousin, it's cousin. Short U, same as southern. Cousin, cousin. This one is nervous. It's actually the sound as well, but it's called this is called the schwa sound. It's not stressed, so it's almost not even there. And then this one is completely different. This is meant to be an OUL, right? This is soul. Okay, that's totally different. So the point there is, don't just say, oh, whenever I see OU, whenever I see OI, whenever I see OW, whenever I see these diphthongs or any vowel, A, E, I, O, and U, it should be pronounced this way. And there's some simple rule to say it that way every single time. Well, that would be cool if that were true, but it's not. And so what can you do? It's very important, I say it too often, to learn pronunciation with the most powerful tool that you're probably not using enough. You learned English through your eyeballs, unfortunately. When you were in school, you learned English by reading, by tests, by passages, right? By true, false. Unfortunately, you didn't learn English the way that I learned English. I learned English mostly through this, my ear. Well, I have two, actually. I have two. It's amazing. I don't know how many you have. I have two, and it's super cool. Well, use that. You have to. If you say, my listening is not as good as my reading, that's crazy. That's crazy that that's true. Why should one thing be better than another? They're both connected to your brain. Why should one be better than another? It's one brain. It's just two different holes, right? So get better at listening. And when you do that and you learn pronunciation by listening, then you can start to hear, okay, well, Southern is pronounced southern, and that's a short U sound. That's the sound. I can hear that. But if I just have the word South with no ern at the end, then it's pronounced south with the ow sound. I don't know why. I don't care. That's just what it is. My ears tell me that that's true. I will trust them because I've developed them. So, as I always say, if you want to improve your pronunciation, the crazy thing is that first you need to improve your listening. If you want to improve your pronunciation, you first need to improve your listening. So it's a great question. Feel free to submit those to me anytime. I'm always checking the comments and emails and everywhere. So feel free to leave comments, the Discord as well. If you have any questions, let me know. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and also get a free course in the links in the description. All right. Hello, says Yuns. Hello, welcome. What are the most effective strategies for improving English pronunciation for non-native speakers? You know, I think I kind of gave a general idea, but again, this is something that I cover in a lot of detail and depth in my courses, which you can check out. I have four pronunciation courses with over, maybe 30 hours of content. It's a lot of stuff, really in depth. Can you say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. 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 Are you an Hypens fan? I don't know who that is. Sam, I have trouble understanding what means manifestations of our commitment to the spirit of originality. Holy cow. Over the past 9 years, our design team has accumulated a rich library. I'm going to read Sam's comment here because this is crazy. Over the past 9 years, our design team has accumulated a rich library of CMF inspirations. These colors and textures serve as manifestations of our commitment to the spirit of originality. First of all, whoever wrote this used ChatGPT without a good prompt. That's true. They did not write this themselves. This is like generic ChatGPT output. Because ChatGPT tends to favor unnecessarily using big words. I'm a big fan of big words when it's a good time to use them. But if you can use simple language, which is most of the time, you should. So, first of all, ChatGPT. Second, I don't know why, if you're trying to communicate with people, you would write like this. Because usually when you want to communicate, you want to be simple and clear, right? So what is these colors and mixtures serve as manifestations of our commitment to the spirit of originality? What does that mean? Well, okay, so you've got a design library, basically assets and color templates and fonts maybe, and that all makes up what maybe brand guidelines or something like this. And they're colors and textures, okay. These colors and textures serve, so another way to say is they are, right? That's their function. They serve that's their function, their role. Serve as manifestations. These are things that are real. A manifestation is something that goes from kind of non-real to real, right? To manifest a thought is to have a thought that you project into the world and it becomes real. Ooh. So these colors and textures are meant as, let's say, examples. I would change that word to examples instead of manifestations, because an example is a real thing that you can look at. Oh, I see. I don't understand the concept. Can you give me an example? Here's an example. An example is a kind of real thing that allows you to say, oh, now I get the idea. So these colors and textures are meant as examples. These colors and textures are meant as examples of our commitment. I like that word. I think that's a longer, bigger word, but I think commitment is a good word. We want to do that. That's what we said we would do. We will do that. So let's keep that word. Our commitment to the spirit of originality. And can we just say, instead of the spirit of something, which is just this idea that that's what we want, to just say to be that way? It's kind of almost the same to being original. So if I were simplifying this, I would say these colors and textures are meant as examples of our commitment to being original. There you go. That is kind of what that means in simpler language. I hate when people use big words when they don't actually need to. It is a pet peeve of mine. It is a pet peeve of mine. All right. I think we're going to call it a day. Friends, neighbors, it's good to be back. It's good to be doing this again. I'm very happy to have you back. We're going to be doing this. I'm committed to the spirit of doing this every week. So submit your questions, join the Discord, get the free course in the links in the description. Like and subscribe is sincerely appreciated. Share this if you enjoyed it. Feel free to share it. If you're watching and you want to listen, you can check out the links or find it. Just search Cloud English on any podcast platform. If you're listening and you want to watch, you can do that on YouTube and Facebook. Just search Cloud English. Again, links are all in the description. The courses are 30% off for the first year, paid monthly, by the way, which is a great deal in my opinion. And I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful Friday. Take care, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy whatever it is that you're doing. And, I will see you next week. Bye-bye.